like to call the Albany Selectmen's meeting to order on November 8th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. New business, approval of the October 25th Selectmen meeting minutes, including one set of non-public minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
Any discussion?
Nope.
Nope.
Call to a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of the November 8th, 2023 consent file that includes review and sign manifests in the amount of $4,413.39 and $173,465.31 to include accounts payable and payroll manifest for 11/1 and 11/8. Review, discuss, and approve or deny local approval for construction of an individual sewage disposal system for 1545 Past Conway Road. Review, discuss, and approve or deny a permanent application for property tax credit veterans for owner of 472 Drake Hill Road for 2024 tax year. Can I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the November 8th consent file.
Second?
Any discussion on any of the items? No? I'll call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Review, discuss, and approve or deny the Town of Albany Safety Manual. Appoint 2 members to the Joint Loss Management Committee.
It's actually 4 now, I gave you 4 appointments.
4 appointments.
So,
I'll make a motion to approve the Town of Albany Safety Manual and to appoint Caitlin Quint, Sandra Vizard,
Kelly Collins,
Kelly Collins, and
Kathleen Flashner.
Kathleen Flashner.
Second.
Discussion, did you read it?
Uh,
Good stuff, I'm
good
sure.
job.
Good stuff. Yep.
Good stuff. All right, I'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next. Review and discuss dog bite complaint on Abenaki Way.
Do you want to wait until the sheriff is here to discuss that? I gave you
The report has been taken care of and he's been fined.
and he's paid his fine.
And he's paid his fine.
But you have 2 complaints in writing from neighbors that want something done because they've been complaining about it since September of 2022.
So nothing other than a fine has
So
been
the police have
executed.
been out there, I think, 6 times in a year, but there's only been 1 dog bite and 1 summons, but he has never licensed that dog in town, and the rabies certificate had expired in August, and the dog bite was
Great.
in October.
Wonderful.
So just
Yes.
so you know that there will be,
Yes, we'll discuss that with the sheriff. Review, discuss, and sign a letter regarding the access gate from Piper Meadows Mobile Home Park and Drake Hill Road. This was an agreement made in 2017 when the new road was opened, and I know the owner of the mobile home park uses that access to get his equipment in and out. That way he doesn't have to go down and around to Route 16, but he should be closing it, and I've signed that letter asking him to keep that closed when he's not using it. I know you weren't
so
around then,
basically
but
Curtis is
No,
gonna put
but
a lock
no,
on
I
it
was actually remember.
and not give him
about that.
access. He's gonna have to ask Curtis for access, because Curtis has been trying for a year to get him. Apparently, there's been some near misses on Drake Hill Road, and Curtis has followed the people through the gate.
Yep.
And it's open a lot.
Yep.
And with the proposed sale of the mobile home park, Curtis is adamant that we put this owner on notice so that
Yep, so it
subsequent
follows
owners
through.
aren't. Yeah, and I mean, the town spent $100,000 on that right away to give
That's
him
right.
a safe access.
that's right.
And now,
I don't-
that's a lot of,
I don't know why, but
okay.
definitely agree.
You might get a little pushback. You might get a little pushback.
Oh, I will. Any discussion, any thoughts?
I guess it's supposed to be closed, but it's being used.
So as part of
Yes.
the warrant article, when
Yeah.
the town spent, in 2007, the town spent $100,000 doing the easement in the right of way and building Nickerson Road so that they would not
Correct,
be
yeah.
able to access, and the condition was right in the warrant article that, you know, that entrance would be closed.
Right.
And
So
I
it should
think
be.
the town was really kind to leave it, cause a lot of times they boulder it and you can't use it, and that's not safe for, you know, if there's a brush
Yeah.
fire or something, you wanna still have that access available, or, you know, an accident on Drake Hill and it's another sneaky way in. So it's nice to have it as an access, but that wasn't the agreement that it be used, and if it's a safety issue, it should not be being left open.
If he was using it, he should be shutting.
Correct, yeah.
So that doesn't really need a motion, I mean, it just,
Yeah. So it's a
No.
letter.
It's a letter,
It's a letter to say it's gonna
a
close.
letter signed.
Yeah.
Hello, Mark.
Mark. There's one down the end if you want to sit at the big table, or in the middle, whatever you want.
I'll sit with the gentleman. How are you?
Review, discuss, and approve ending balance abatement, 12,500 for map 6, lot 104.
so
Why
the
an
tax.
ending balance abatement?
So that's what Avatar said to call it, because it's against the law to abate land use change tax, Heather.
Okay, okay.
So what happened was, on the land use change tax bill, she picked up both the assessed value and the tax, and put them both on.
Oh,
So he paid the land use change tax, but then he called her this week and said, why do I owe $12,500 in taxes? And he's like freaking out.
yeah, no,
So we figured that out. Avatar tried to delete it,
they couldn't delete
can't
it.
delete it. You have to do an
Really?
ending balance
Alright,
abatement.
get it,
And only you guys can do that, so
get it.
that's how to correct
Any
it.
discussion on that?
No.
No.
Need a motion on that?
Do
Oh,
it?
yes, we do, it's an
We do?
abatement. It's an
I will
abatement.
make a motion to abate $12,500 for map 6, lot 104 for the land use change tax that should.
Ending balance abatement, don't call it land
Yeah,
use
use the right words.
because we can't do that.
Ending balance abatement.
Right.
Or
Just
I'm not gonna second it.
I make a motion to approve the ending balance abatement of 12,500 for map 6, lot 104.
Second.
Discussion.
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Town administrator report.
You missed one.
I did.
You missed the building permit for map 6
Oh.
91.
I would like to table, I'll make a motion to table the building permit for map 6, lot 91 on NH Route 16 for further discussion and investigation, and decide at another time whether he gets approved.
Second.
We need to know if this is gonna become a house, and if it is, we need a septic.
Right. Agreed.
Do you want me to put it on the next agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay, now me?
Me.
So I got an 11-hour request from the Conservation Commission to meet with the Board of Selectmen next meeting to discuss timbering the portion of the town forest that is in Bald Hill Road, because there has been some spongy moth damage, and if they log it off this winter, they will still get some value from it, and potentially keep it from spreading.
Is
I
that the
guess.
opinion of the forester? Because when Jim Innes from the Forest Service was here, he basically said the national forest is too far gone.
I sent you the 3-page document that Tim Nolan provided to them. He's I believe he's a certified forester.
Okay.
And then they, in conjunction with that, they also want the revenue from that timber sale to go, they'd like the town to abate the taxes, which you can do because it's town property, and any revenue that comes from the sale of that be put into their conservation fund. The conservation fund was already approved by town meeting, so it exists. So that's not an issue, we don't have to set up a fund, but you would have to have town meeting vote to put that revenue in, because you can't carry revenue forward, it falls into the general fund unless town meeting votes to do that. And then in addition to that, they would like you to consider a warrant article in 2024 that takes some portion, some percentage of the land use change tax and earmarks it for that conservation fund, which is fairly common in the state of New Hampshire. What is all over the place is what the percentage is. Some towns do 10%, some do 50%, some do 100%, some do none. So just so you know what they're coming for, and I will attach all that documentation to the next agenda in your agenda packet, so you.
So when Mr. Nolan goes to sell this timber, he's going to be making something. Why would we abate the tax?
And this is on the town forest?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I think the reason that the Conservation Commission would request that the selectmen abate the tax is because the less money that comes out of the timber sale, the more potentially goes into the conservation fund. Mr. Nolan is gonna probably make the same amount of money regardless of what the select board decides to do. He doesn't care where the revenue goes, he doesn't care if the town pays the taxes, he's not going to pay them. So let's say you get $10,000 for the sale, and it's a 10% tax. You know, that's $1,000 that would come to the town. He takes whatever his cut is, 20%, he's gonna get his 2,000, then there's 7,000 left. That either goes to the conservation fund or it goes into the town's general fund. Honestly, it has to be a vote at town meeting, so I think there's a timing issue here too, because if he timbers it this winter and they collect the revenue before town meeting votes, once that money comes, without that vote at town meeting, I don't have any authority, and neither does the treasurer. It goes to the general fund. So, I mean, you could earmark it the following year from 12/31 fund balance and put something in the conservation fund, but that's for a board to decide.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Lots of choices.
Lots of
Yeah.
opinions.
Yeah.
I don't
I
have
do.
them, I don't know.
I'm gonna find
That
the
is,
video.
Find the video.
I'm going to. I am.
or we're gonna have a video.
I am
And then
gonna
I just-
have a video.
Just that update on the Department of Labor, the Department of Labor Safety Division has given us 30 days to provide them with the safety manual that you approved tonight and
Perfect.
to have a joint loss management committee meeting, so I will do everything in my power to get that done in 30 days and notify them
Okay.
when it's been done.
And you're going to agenda the Conservation Commission.
Yes, for 11/29.
Okay. Good.
That's it. That's it for
Alright.
me.
Appointments with NHDOT. Is this new information that you have for us, or we're just kind of reviewing?
No, so thank you for inviting us up here. I do have basically larger printouts for everybody, just in case we have specifics.
Thank you.
Just a quick introduction for those. My name is Jason Ayotte. I'm the project manager for the 29597 project that we know is New Hampshire 16. I also have Kathy Corliss here, who is the design lead for the project. And I saw that Mr. Robitaille had a presentation to you.
Yep.
Mr. Jordan.
Yeah, I'll make copies for everybody.
I got a bunch.
We had this is something that Nick has seen as well. Oh, you have it. Oh, perfect.
I like it.
Give Mr. Jordan my card because he may not have it.
All right, thank you.
So no, it's not really new information. You know, we had basically put this out in front of the board this midsummer to kind of get some consensus that we'd like to bring the information to the town and have the public informational meeting as the department knows it. But we really want to start building consensus about where. So as probably most know, the original 10-year plan application for the 29597 project went in about 2015 through NCC, and it was really that 6 to 7 miles of the corridor from the Tamworth town line all the way to the Conway town line. It went in with a specific scope of work just to put rumble strips in. So, and then it's been, you know, it takes a number of years for us to be able well, the preliminary engineering wasn't programmed until 2020, so that's really when we started working on it about then, and then we were here. And I know that's been a long process since the original project, which is a completely different project number, However, so we kind of brought that as not necessarily what we affectionately call a blank sheet meeting, where we come in with no solution, but we kind of wanted to get that public input that we hadn't
Right.
received. We got some great input, been about 30 respondents on the public survey, and it was pretty consistent between the town meeting and the survey. You know, turning off and on New Hampshire 16 is a primary issue, speed. So, and you know, those are probably the top two, and then obviously there's sight distance and geometry, and then, you know, general roadway, narrow shoulders, you know, most of the stuff that we've heard that you all know that you've also communicated to me. So, would like to come, is basically get consensus from the town in the next public informational to kind of bring at least a segment, because the department, one, doesn't have enough within the budget to do 6 miles of roadway. I think we kind of had talked loosely that we thought it was in excess of $30 million to do the entire corridor, and Kathy and the team have been able to do that, and that's what it is. We also started thinking about, you know, different options that we could do within the corridor to kind of address some of those issues. So obviously the, you know, shoulder widening is probably one of the easiest. We heard that from the sheriff, as well as Chief King, when we were here at the meeting, that, you know, safety on and off without the wider shoulders. So that's probably one of the easier ones. We did sort of look at geometric improvements to kind of help intersection sightlines, driveway sightlines. So those are kind of in the proposal. But essentially what we kind of broke it down to is we've got kind of two philosophies. We have a philosophy to address speeding, which really kind of, you know, from our perspective, in order to change, you know, higher speeds and reduce those speeds, you really need to have character changes. So there's that philosophy, and then to bring the posted speed down to, you know, the 30, 35, 40 that we kind of heard within the meeting, or make the roadway safer for what people want to travel. So when we put this out there, I think there's a lot of information, and sometimes it's really difficult to understand, you know, what the context is. But the idea right now is that we're really within the alternatives, and we kind of need to get a handle on what is the proposed scope of work. So if we come up only with a 50-mile-an-hour design, I think we get a lot of pushback from the community. So the thought process was we went through and we kind of looked at both. So what we have, you know, and what we'd like to present to the public is we essentially have what we call our base option, which is that 50-mile-an-hour design. We meet the posted speed, we make the roadway safe enough for the traveling public. And then we also started looking at, you know, safety improvements, and, you know, lastly, like probably what would be kind of the highest impact, which would be, you know, how do we address higher speeds and look at traffic calming. So there's a lot of different things that we could do, but essentially probably one of the most immediate impacts that we could make are, you know, adding left turn lanes, possibly evaluating what we call the two-way left turn lane, where we have that center lane where vehicles can make the turning movements in the center of the lane and get out of the through traffic. Introduce those 4 to 5 foot shoulders in locations, and then to do that, to kind of get the scope and kind of feel, at least provide the town an opportunity to kind of weigh in on where we could focus, we broke it up into the 3 segments that are in this larger handout. We've got, and we kind of did it based on the character of the road. Segment 1 is from the Tamworth Town Line through to just about Pine Knoll. You know, and Kathy, jump in if I misspeak at all, but essentially we've already removed the concrete slab there. We've got 12 foot lanes, 4 foot shoulders. When we went through initially, you know, we thought that we could address some of the safety with an overlay, rumble strips, possibly look, but the density of driveways along that corridor is not as much as when you get in a little further north. The second segment, which is on page 2, and then extends essentially from Pine Knoll Road north. We broke it up into 3 sub-segments, a 2A, which goes from Pine Knoll to about Drake Hill and the Town Hall Road, 2B from that location to just north of Bald Hill Road, and the third segment, which basically from Bald Hill Road through to where the truck lane begins, just north of Tanglewood. And the reason we did that is because we knew that we had a lot more need. The roadway is narrow, we've got a concrete slab, we know the drainage is nearing 100 years old. So we know we have department needs, we know we have safety needs. The scope of the work is much more, so we knew that we were expecting higher costs, so we were trying to break this up into what we would be able to do effectively and kind of itemize it. And you'll see that within the kind of the PowerPoint that we put together a couple months ago, where that way it was easier for us to kind of pull the estimates and what the scope of work. And then the last segment, segment 3, is north of, essentially where the truck lane is, through Ledge Pond Road, through the 113 intersection, and ends at the Conway town line. So, we had gone through it, really helped us estimate, and I have to get my notes out because I'm probably gonna misspeak, and obviously we've got a little bit more work to do. But the first segment is in the range of 3.5 to 5 million. Again, we have the width out there for most of it. There's a couple locations that we would want to consider turn lanes. We did review really access management around some of the other driveways, specifically the Piper Trailhead, which we had heard some concerns, as well as Drake Hill and Nickerson Road. So we did look at turn lanes, and that's kind of where 3.6 is kind of just the pavement, the rumble strips, and then, somewhere an intermediate cost there would be to start constructing left turn lanes for essentially Nickerson, correct?
Yeah.
We did evaluate Drake Hill, but it didn't meet left turn lane warrants. And then, you did see some roundabouts in there, so, again, in order to change the character of the roadway and really slow people down, we need to put something that can physically impede that. So that's where the roundabouts are at the higher end. If I flip to the 2A segment a little bit further within the PowerPoint, we have a lot greater needs. We are kind of finishing up evaluating, the traffic in and out of Pine Knoll, Town Hall, Drake Hill. We're looking at left turn lanes. We do have a bridge within that segment that we're gonna be concerned with. There are some drainage infrastructure that, like I said before, is aging. So this section of roadway is between, $5.5 and $7.5 million. 2B, again, is about the same. It's in that $5 to $6 million. And I should have probably broke up the segment lengths and let you know that, because we've got 1.5 miles for 2A, 1.1 miles of roadway for 2B, and then 2C is a little bit more. Again, we looked at left turn lanes. The difference with 2A, 2B, 2C in that segment 2 is we also evaluated the 2A left turn lane. Now that we have all of these adjacent left turn lanes, it made sense for us to evaluate that with some geometric improvements. We also looked at roundabouts, which you saw again to kind of really change the characters. There were a couple different locations. And then we did the same thing for segment 3. We looked at what we would think would be some modest intersection improvements for the 113 intersection. And then we also kind of stepped outside of the box a little bit and looked at what it would take to just realign the intersection in a new location. And that's obviously a much higher. So I don't have great summary at this point, but essentially, obviously, segment 1 is well within budget. We have $9.1 million in today's costs. Segment 1 would be less. It's about, let's just say 4. Segment 2 is, if you did all 3, is about 15, anywhere from 13 to 20 million, depending on the kind of different additions that we put in there. And then segment 3 is probably one of the larger costs at 15 million, because we're looking at, much more roadway reconstruction to kind of get the grades to work at 113, possibly another intersection. So
How much was that one?
that one's again, it's in excess of 15 million.
15.
Yeah, so when you start adding everything together,
Yeah.
you're over $30 million. So again, we only have 9.1. The department doesn't necessarily work as efficient when we have to look at 6 miles. When we come out of the public meeting, we really love to have an area of focus, you know, on whatever it is. My recommendation in the whole thing is I would love to be able to pick an envelope that's a little bit greater. Obviously, I don't wanna just pick the area of impact for the 9.1, and then if something were to happen in the future, costs escalate, now we have to kind of, we're only working within that box. I'd like to pick a bigger area of potential effect. That's what we use so that we can coordinate and get our permitting approvals. We can go to a public hearing and get our preferred layout established. And then, you know, as we get into final design, we'll have, you know, better cost. You know, we can look at additional funding as needed. There's always opportunities at the end of the year when you have those projects, when you have the projects come to construction. So I think, you know, coming out of it, it would make sense to, you know, be able to pick that. Now, you know, based on the feedback, it's kind of difficult, but certainly when we kind of lay this out, you know, we had, I think it's about an 80-20, maybe a 70-30 split. You had a lot of comments at the Wildwood 113 intersection. It's about 30% of the comments when you tally up the roadway. Segment 1 is, how many miles? 2.6 miles, that's the worksheet. We have about 3.2 miles for segment 2 and only 1.5 miles for segment 3. So I certainly advocate to be able to focus on, you know, a project that we can lengthen and maximize, and been pretty honest with, in some of ours, that if we can find a way to maximize the length of the roadway project, I think we'd be better off for everyone. But again, we want to build that consensus with the town because, you know, I think that's probably the biggest crux for us. The more that we delay or the more that we focus on a longer length of roadway, the more difficult it is to get this. It's a lot more NEPA, it's a lot of wetland permits. So we certainly don't have the funds to be able to construct it. So I think being able to hone in on that area is gonna make, you know, us more efficient, and then quite possibly, you know, we're not looking at working with 6 miles of abutters. We're only working with, you know, the 3 or the 1.5.
Can I just clarify something?
Absolutely.
I don't read plans all the time. So am I correct in assuming that section 2C is completely in Madison?
It is, yes.
And 50% of section 3 is in Madison?
No.
Ish? That purple part,
Yeah,
section 3?
no, I think that's fairly rough.
About
Yeah.
50, I mean, mile wide, maybe not work wide.
It's just the worst intersection, Kelly, it's horrible.
Right, but it was on the plan as an Albany.
That is true, it is an all-big project, so
So if
we
you
introduce
spend
Madison into it, we'll just have to work
60% of the money
through
in Madison, I mean, this should be,
Thoughts?
this should be a Madison thing.
I think it's all the twos, I think 2A, 2B, and 2C, that's the crux of it.
Well, we don't have the money for that.
Right, and to take one of them makes no sense.
Well, I think if you're gonna run out of money, then do the 2A and the 2B and let Madison deal with 2C.
Well, let me redo that, not the 2C, 2A and 2B. It's unfortunate you couldn't,
Can we get
Include
close to the
Tanglewood
money
in
on
it.
2A and 2B?
are these
I
hard
can only speak
lines?
for the money right now, it doesn't mean that we're not gonna advocate for more, I can only speak to the 9.1 that I have currently
So-
in today's dollars.
So 5.5 to 7.5 and 5 to 6 million, so you're looking at 10.5 to 13.5.
Mhm.
Are these hard lines on your sections?
No, they were, well, I would say reasonable termini for us to be able to kind of do the estimating. I would hate for us to kind of dive into that level of detail, given this is, you know, we got a couple different phases of work that we do. This is preliminary, this is conceptual
Right.
work for us.
Yep.
So we're using lane mile cost, there isn't three-dimensional modeling for the entire corridor. This is enough to get a handle on, cause I didn't wanna come to the town and say I have a $30 million and it actually be $60 million. I wanted to be able to have a better handle on what the range is. I also wanted to be able to give the town, you know, if you're asking for speed reduction, traffic calming, this is what it's gonna take, and this is what the cost associated with that, so that you could be educated about that. So I'd really hate, like, you know, from a NEPA perspective, you know, we need to find what would be a logical terminus, so, you know, that may change. It just seemed at the time, let's tie into a 3-lane section is a logical terminus for us. It also has a large culvert that District 3 would like us to deal with in that, so that's kind of why we picked it. There's probably some overlap in the estimating.
So have you figured out, I mean, this is just, have you figured out, of the 9.1 million, how much of it can the town really influence? Because we, obviously, the safety concerns, the traffic calming, the reduction of speed, the change in character, but you have a whole bunch of things, removing concrete, fixing bridges, drainage, that has nothing to do with us. It has to be done, I guess the rumble, mumble strips are, you have to have a public hearing on those. I suspect the residents will not be jazzed about that because so many houses are so close to 16. But I don't think even if you take mumble strips out of the equation, that doesn't get us a lot of money, does it?
Rumble strips, no.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a systematic approach that we would want to introduce. We do have lane departure crashes, and so if you're having crossover crossing center line issues, then that's an effective treatment that you know our safety staff would sort of advocate for. One of the things, you know, we've talked about this a little bit internally, and you know, with you know the 4-foot shoulders, now there's a little bit more room in 12-foot lanes. You have more room there that, you know, today you don't have that. So if you did put it, like in Madison, they have that, but you have the narrow shoulders, so you're gonna have more strikes, more noise. So we would expect to hear less with the 4 to 5 foot shoulders. But I would agree, that's a minor cost in our estimating. You know, there's a lot of cost in reconstructing. The roadway was last constructed in the 30s, so you know, to remove that there is considerable cost. The drainage, absolutely, 100% agree. But you know, it's make the ride quality better. It's gonna make the roadway safer. We would improve the ditch lines. It's gonna, you know, we're gonna have
Oh yeah, they can go
greater
faster.
recovery area. Well, no,
It'll be better to-
you know, that's part of it, but in addition,
Exactly.
Kathy and the team have sort of looked at, you know, probably the number one cause is the lack of turning opportunities, you know, and introducing a left turn lane, you know, that's a considerable,
Line of sight.
it allows some minor geometric changes, you know, through the corridor. So I think, anyway, to answer your question specifically about how much the town has, like, you know, the public outreach is pretty critical for our NEPA and getting acceptance. If we don't have a project that's in, that the town, the community, the, you know, the traveling public aren't in favor of, then the project really wouldn't go anywhere. But I think collectively, everybody agrees that there's considerable need here, and that any improvement would be great. And again, I would advocate that, you know, our area of potential effect is gonna be larger than 9.1 million, and, you know, if it crosses into Madison, I think that would be a prudent use of our study time to make sure that we
Well,
have
yeah, I
that.
mean, 2B crosses into Madison too. I'm not saying you don't build road in Madison. I mean, obviously, but
But I also feel that 2B is, well, 2A and 2B are the most troublesome sections of the whole, other than 113.
But the problem is then, how do you deal with the fact that we have $9.1 million and it's between 13 and 20 to do, or
They do.
10.5 and 13.5 to do those
They
two
deal
things.
with that. We tell them what we like, and you guys figure out if you can do it, is the way I look at it. I mean, that's up to the state to take safety seriously, and help us out. I mean, that's gonna be a whole fight. We can't say we can't do it, because there is a way to do stuff. And if we gotta be a squeaky wheel and really squeak, then we're gonna have to, because people, I almost died again, not that it's a big story, but if it would've been my kids or my wife driving, they would've got rear-ended and they would've died. So, I almost called all you guys that day, but I counted to 3 and said, no, I'll wait. But it's that bad, and it's mostly I don't know if it's distracted, but it's rear-end collisions. I mean, they come right up. It's a constant pump your brakes. And if you see the car coming, you think they're not slowing down enough, you pump them harder.
Put the
Well-
directional on at least a quarter mile beforehand.
And then
But it's petrifying when you're dead stop, because I turned into town hall and there's that corner.
But
so
I
you're
pulled into the
stopped
ditch.
dead and you see them coming and you're
Because
like, look at
I knew better, and I hit the gas and tore into a ditch, but my family would have just locked up. They would have held on. So it's not, and I'd say it's not if, it's when, but it already has been when. We have already had a fatality due to this rear-end collision deal. So we need to, we got people screaming that this needs to be done. And if we do a little, people are gonna say, why'd they do that? What, we're all gonna look bad if we do a little bit. So as far as extending lines, the 2C should at least go past Tangier, because that's an awful corner.
Yeah.
And you had the woman that came to the meeting that she actually had a medical emergency because she got so passionate about it. Once you get past that, then you get into the double lanes and down the hill, and we had a fatality there, but that had nothing to do with road conditions. That was just poor.
But it's,
So-
that 2C right now is a logical terminus, and there's a character change about that location, so.
And that,
I
if you
think-
could put 2C in there, I'm just trying to trim it a little bit, but I'm gonna say, at the very least, you need to clear Tanglewood and take that corner out. And then, if you can put the whole section 2C in, all the better.
Right,
But
I agree.
it's
All of that.
it's all of that.
But the
And if the
really
sheriff was here, he would tell you too, those were the accidents that he responds to.
And Tanglewood,
All right there.
Tanglewood, but Sunnybrook, where we had the fatality, we drove by last week and there was a piece of car laying in the road where someone else
Yeah,
got
saw
clipped.
that, saw
A
that.
rear view mirror, a side
Yep,
mirror.
Side mirror.
So it's we're all gonna look bad, or worse, I should say, because
Yeah.
we gotta get this right. I know money is money, but we got some pretty smart people that can hopefully help us with this.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
like you said, the 1930s, it's due, it's long overdue, and Ossipee looks fantastic.
And I bet these
They're
roads are
beautiful.
traveled now,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
the way they're traveled now, it's not what they intended
No.
when they were built.
But you
know,
get the
so-
same amount of people coming up through Ossipee, through Rochester, the same people that are pushing right through here, and then they hit this, and they think they can continue with that rate of speed and that distracted driving. I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden they plug up here, and we got a lot of stuff going on. So I know you guys see it. I know I'm not telling you you don't already know this, but it's time to do this. I mean,
Yeah.
this board needs to get this done. And I know next season, Nick, I've talked to you, and matter of fact, there's a stop sign on the side of the road. I was gonna bring it for you because it got hit today. Down
Another
on
one?
13. I mean, I was gonna take a picture, but I'm like,
Another
I
one
can't,
is-
you can't make this stuff up. We're in a bad spot right here. So,
Yeah, I agree, section 2, I don't know what you think, Jim.
it's section 2, it's
2 is the worst.
whichever way you can jog it, left or
Other than the
right.
113
Other than
intersection,
113,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
agreed.
another whole
Yeah.
animal.
Yeah,
And it needs to be treated like a different animal,
I think so too.
because we'll never.
And I think there
That's-
needs to be a lot more conversation about
Uh-huh,
what happens there.
yeah. Nice little roundabout.
Jim works at Coleman's, so he can actually see that intersection most of your day, I bet.
I don't use it.
Well,
I go across the street through the old rental parking lot and I exit there. I don't go to 13.
I'm sure you're not alone. So, I think that's what you're gonna hear when we have this town meeting, that it's gonna be, we may not get the crowd we got before, because we really put it out there, we will again, but,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna hear the same thing, and to calm it down, to do less, to make more, I don't know that that's the right way to go either.
There's no possibility though that if they went with all of 2, that then all you get done is the removal of the concrete and the drainage and the bridge work, and we get no traffic calming, and we get no wider. I mean, I'm concerned that if you went with 2A and 2B, that seems like maybe doable, but if you add 2C, you might be so outside, because that's another.
Well, that's what I'm saying, a portion of two
At
things.
least by Tanglewood, that
Yeah.
corner is horrible.
And so I guess I'd like to go back. I think if the board stood up the public informational and kind of had their priorities, like a successful public informational meeting for me is that the town identifies if it's 2 is the priority, then 3, then 1, because that makes our job a lot easier. And that to me is a successful
My
meeting.
vote is for 2.
I think the 3 of us would be all in favor of that.
Absolutely.
I think law enforcement would too, and anyone that drives this road. And now we have an additional problem with the trucks that are coming in. Now we got people
Yeah,
complaining about
logging
engine
trucks.
brakes. We got engine brake problem.
The logging trucks.
No, this is probably market basket trucks or somebody. It's all the new trucks coming through. I've never heard them before, but it's about 3, 4, 5 in the morning. We got engine brake problems.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's the same one because it's one after another.
Of course, you got Walmart, you got everything
So
now.
we got so much going into that city of Conway right now that
Towns
gotta
can
pass
pa-
through here.
Towns can pass ordinances that you can't use those.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the
Who's
direction
gonna
we're
enforce
gonna
But I
them?
don't know if you can do that on a state road, if, like, I know the towns can do it, like, cause
And how's a trucker gonna know?
It's
well,
signs.
in places like
Literally.
Milford, when I worked in Milford, so they had all these quarries, and the trucks used to line up out in the neighborhoods at 4 o'clock in the morning and run their reefer unit.
We have one of those too.
And then, so they passed an ordinance
The
where they
trucks.
couldn't come in and idle
No, it was the last one.
before 7 o'clock in the
when I
morning
used
or
to get
something,
that.
and they couldn't use whatever that, what is it, Jake brake or whatever that
Engine brake.
engine brake is, they couldn't use those in the town proper. And believe me, the neighbors at 4 o'clock in the morning call and,
That could be attributed to the line of sight and the curves on the road. That may go away with straighter roads. But right now, all of a sudden, it's something where we got something going on. So Curtis was actually talking to me about it too. So we got a lot of issues, and I'm glad you guys came. I know we need to do another
Thank you for the
informational.
attention, we appreciate it.
I think it's on you guys to do this informational. I know we'll do it like last time, however you want to set it up, but isn't there a deadline to that when you have to have it?
No, not necessarily. As far as a deadline from our perspective and our
Yeah.
development, not necessarily, as long as we're showing movement on a project, but the sooner we get it in, then we can move to the next step. We can work with the executive office to identify what the scope is, and then the team,
Yeah.
I think even knowing this, I think we could take some risk, but as long as we're hearing that, it sort of helps us with our NEPA permitting, and
Yeah.
we would get approval. So it's always tough this time of year because of the holidays and trying to get stuff in. So I
Well,
can
that's
take
what
a
I'm
look at
saying.
your
It kind of
schedule.
takes a lot from what she's gonna do if we gotta plan meetings and.
Yeah, and that would be our meeting, but I thought it worked really well to have after
Oh, worked great.
your board meeting, and make it separate, but it's after. It's after 5 o'clock, so it's a lot easier for people to get here. And the room was great. We kind of did a little bit of brainstorming
so
before the
maybe to
meeting.
take some of the ouch out of not being able to do segment 1 and segment 3 too, we can talk to Representative McConkey and Nick about getting, especially that 113 intersection on whatever next 10-year plan, 20-year, it's disconcerting to me that the 10-year plan becomes the 18-year plan. I mean, I think that's, it's really sad that until
The
somebody,
30, the 40 year.
17-year-old kid dies in Ospey and the traffic circle gets built in a year, but, when there were, 6 fatalities and 41 injuries on this part, we're on the 18-year plan, so. But if we start right now to get that, because I think when you have a public hearing, there are gonna be people that want 113 done, because it is very dangerous. So if we already have worked with Representative McConkey and with Nick from NCC to put our name on the next list and get a next project. Like, we're not forgetting it, we're not saying it's not safe, we just don't have the money to do it this time. This money won't fix that. It won't come anywhere near fixing that. So let's get the most bang for the buck with what we have right now and then put that project, and you guys know way better than what is available for, when I say next project, because I don't even know what to apply for.
Yeah, and that's, well, just to add, is that I've, over the summer, I talked to, I think, both of you and with Jason and his team a little bit. And even today, I was looking at like alternative funding sources of highway safety improvement, or all the federal funds coming down. They all have different stipulations, but I think the important thing, especially for that Kelly raised, is that he would like it sooner than 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is that there's all this funding out there, even for planning grants. You could, right now, we're planning to submit the request that you guys put in to HEB, to the money we have set aside for on-call engineering, but, you know, there's other, for planning grants, for getting things ready for construction, for things like that, so, and we can talk more about that, because I've been trying to keep updated on everything, but there's a million different programs and things, but, hopefully sooner than, you know, 2040
18
or,
years.
yeah.
Let's shoot for 10.
I met at the intersection with Mark and some state people, and they're all aware, they all know, they've all seen it, and we can only look at it so many times before something gets done. But what I'm looking for, and what I think the board is looking for, is, I hate to say it, but we're just part-time, the three of us. We don't have the wherewithal or the intelligence to, like, this is something that I would hope the NCC could kind of take a lead on. You mentioned a lot of grants, but when I start reading the grant, I go blurry, I just go cross-eyed, so it's not something we're great at, maybe even not good at, but it's something we're gonna need to really get some help with, because we talk once every 2 weeks, and only here, we can't talk outside a meeting, we can't do anything, so we're kind of tied up, and I hate to put it this way, but we're kind of screaming for help, and it needs to be taken to a next level. I don't know, we actually kind of brainstormed who else we can get involved, and, you know, we have a state rep, never met the person, I'm sure we will at some point, but do we need to get more people
We have 2 of them, don't we?
talking?
McAleer and
That's how you,
Burrows. Is it Burrows and McAleer?
I don't know what good it would do, but where do you run for help when you need help?
Yeah, Chris McAleer and Anita Burrows are our reps.
I don't like being the complainer, but we need to complain to somebody that this, I know you guys are doing your standard procedures and all that, but someone's gonna get killed.
So I did talk to Bill Lambert, state highway safety engineer, who was the former state traffic engineer.
Mhm.
I'm sure you've met with him.
Mm-hmm.
So they are prioritizing their 24 RSA list, and to that point, you know, I guess I'm a firm believer, don't put all your eggs in one basket, and I would suggest that the town write a letter requesting the RSA for the intersection, and I'm sure Nick probably has a couple examples that he could probably fish out, but that would be an avenue. It doesn't mean that you will qualify for it, but it will get that process started, so maybe the highway safety improvement program would be an opportunity for that in the future. But I completely agree, Mr. Hurtado, that if we went to a public meeting and we said that, you know, we're only gonna do this, we're not gonna do the 113 intersection, it's gonna be a very difficult meeting for that, where we did hear, there was a large number of people that had,
Very emotional.
that identified that as a concern, and if they think that it's not gonna be done, we're gonna have a difficult time. So if we can have a strategy moving forward as a town, North Country Council, or even the department, to let them know that it's not forgot about, to your point, then
Well, I think
then we could move effectively, but if we don't have agreement, this could drag out,
Well,
and that's not what we
You
want.
also told us early in this process that, you know, this segment 1, 2, and 3 were the original 10 program put on the 10-year plan. If we shifted all this money, let's say we had enough to do 113 and we shifted it, that we will never get this part for another 20 years. So that's problematic too.
I may not have said 20 years, but it has to go back into the 10-year plan
Well, when did this get on the 10-year plan? Because this is at what?
for 2015. But the 29597.
So it's
and again,
18
there was some other struggles, right? Originally, when
COVID. I
when the
get it,
10437 project went in, we weren't fiscally constrained with the 10-year plan. In 2008, we were, and this project was always identified and connected with the Conway bypass, and that was one of the reasons why it didn't go away. Mr. Rose had advocated for it. The difference, I want to be clear that the difference in the scope is, that 6.7 miles was really for rumble was enough pavement and rumble strips, no real widenings, no intersection improvements.
Good old
You know,
Jack.
so you can do a lot for 6.7 if you're not widening the roadway, but I think, there's tremendous safety need out here, and that's why, when I've talked to the executive office, it's really, a little bit more rebranding of a safety improvement project, because there's a lot of need out here.
Yeah, I think if you call this a rumble strip project, you're gonna.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, we knew that going into the last meeting, and we didn't want to,
I'm gonna be sick that day. Wow.
I just wanted to be clear about,
Right,
that
yep, I get
the
it.
entire corridor was based on simple improvements to
Right.
install
Well,
rumble
and
strips.
18 years ago, those simple improvements probably would have been, maybe not enough, but closer to enough than they would be today. Because again, the traffic pattern is not going away. And it just, every year it just gets more and more.
We've been found. That's what I tell everybody in Conway. We've been found.
I don't know if Albany's been found. I feel like they want to get to Conway.
Yeah. Mark?
When I was here, I kept hearing safety and speed. I love the idea of the 4-foot shoulders, fabulous, 12-foot travel ways, right turns, left turns, all fantastic. But when I look in here and I see all these other great ideas on the changing the character of the road, which is going to slow it, which is what a lot of people are asking for, I see the introduction of roundabouts in here. I'm a big roundabout fan. That cost isn't even figured into that other cost, is it? Or your roundabout, your traffic calming,
That's it.
all in that budget that you've been talking about?
So we estimated that we have a range of costs. We have the baseline improvements that wouldn't include the roundabouts, and then we also, as you go through, you have to do the base improvements of it, upgrading the roadway, the drainage, and then, the high end of the cost that we have in the PowerPoint.
So in like
Include the
segment 1, the
roundabouts.
3.5 to 5, the
Yeah.
5 would include.
Yeah, and there's some trade-offs, right? So if we introduce a left turn lane, we need to have, enough, for a couple cars of storage, we need to have the decel, we have to have the taper, and, the roundabouts are completely different character change. Some of the areas, it's a lesser improvement, because I know one in particular, we looked at a roundabout, it's adjacent to a bridge, so then you look at bridge widenings and all of that with a left turn lane. So, there's certain trade-offs, but we wanted to make sure that that's, and so selecting the location in the next meeting doesn't mean we're not gonna bring some of those alternatives forward again.
Okay.
We're gonna focus on, what I'm segment
Geographically
2,
the
the
area.
geographic area, so that we can update our surveys, our wetland delineations. We can start looking harder at the historic reviews and the archaeological reviews, pull all of the environmental and cultural resources together, in addition to the design team doing a 3-dimensional model, because some of the areas might not work. There's a couple water bodies that are close by outside of Iona Lake that are tributaries to it, that 2D, it looks really nice to put it there, but then when you start thinking about the grading and guardrail and all of that we want to make sure that it would actually fit. And some of them might require property acquisition, so we need to be a little bit clear on that. So again, the next meeting would be getting us away from 6.7 miles of corridor, focusing on, in this case, if we select segment 2, we'll focus just on 3.2. That's almost half the corridor. To do all of the NEPA documentation, bring it to a public hearing, establish what the right of way would need, and then we can get in
Yeah.
to final design and bring a construction contract forward.
Okay, so if the selectmen are asking to stay within the section 2 is where you're looking to do more investigation, and if section 2 does have some of those traffic calming, you'll introduce that at the next hearing, and costing will be figured in, preliminary costing.
Correct, correct.
I just want to come back to the question on the process. North Country Council has an awful lot to do with the steering of the 10-year. It starts there. So you need to stay on point. They have what, 2 representatives on the TAC committee?
Yeah, primary and then an alternate.
So you need to be razor focused with your representative, and your representatives need to convey through Nick and the commission why that is so important. Because quite honestly, you're a little fish in that big group. So you have to be laser focused with your people to get that in there. And the department will work with them on other funding processes out there. So then it goes through the process, but it really has to hit hard here. And when it gets up to the state level, we don't have an awful lot of shift, but we can help prioritize and push things. Senator Bradley's very good at it. The intersection you spoke of in Ossipee after the death was the senator and me made that happen. But that was a different pot of money than what they're using here. So on safety specific, and perhaps that's where we drill hard on the 113 intersection
Right.
as the next project. So you do have power once it hits the House and the Senate, but this is where that 113 intersection, these other things comes from. And small towns have to really roar to get what you need.
That's what we wanna do. So it's not roaring. Well spoken, Mark.
Well, we're, just to add on to that, is that we're coming up on the next solicitation period, so you'll be getting emails from me for.
Fire 'em away.
Fire away.
You'll be, especially, you've been
Yeah.
a very squeaky wheel, so you're.
Well, it's gonna
front
get
center,
squeakier.
which is, you know,
And I do appreciate, I didn't make it to the Gassett meeting, I went last minute thing, and I know you spoke on that intersection on the town's behalf, I appreciate that. And so,
Spoke very well.
yeah, and I wanna hear more people speak about it. You did it, now if we get more people say, hey, it seems like the more interest we get, when we do roar,
Yeah.
people will pay attention.
We need to find another Jack Rose.
More
Yeah.
rental strips.
Well, no, a Jack Rose that takes on 113.
Yeah.
Like
He would take on
you could be
anybody.
Jack Rose and take on.
Jack was retired with no kids. He did
I
use a
resemble
cane.
that.
Doesn't the cleaning lady do the windows? I'm like, no, the cleaning lady doesn't do the windows.
So you need to set up a meeting, and we'll be ready for it.
Yeah.
As long as it's not a big interference with the
Now, do you
office.
start the NEPA, like the NEPA and your plans for public hearing, they kind of run concurrently? Like you don't have to have X, Y, and Z done before the next. You just have to have a coherent plan.
Correct, yeah. We've already started data collection, so now it's just when we hone in on the area that we wanna focus on, then, we do need to go get some additional information.
When you did the surveying out here, did the right-of-way bureau get involved in how much of that might be other people's land?
We've started that,
Okay.
but, we haven't
Identify.
gone out and picked up monuments or anything. I guess we haven't necessarily gone to the next level. We had like 4 different levels for right away. I won't bore you with the details, but I think we're like on step 2. So we still have a couple more before we would get to a public hearing and try to establish a layout.
It's exciting, it's moving
Yeah,
forward.
exactly.
Yes.
Something.
Forward's better than backwards.
No, it's a long road. Get it?
Yeah, it would be 2027 before construction would begin.
Probably not. I'd have to take a look at the schedule. It's programmed. We had to move some things because, again, we're fiscally constrained by you know, all of the projects, I believe it's 28, but I know that it had to move, unfortunately, and until we get the location, it's difficult to pick an advertisement date because we couldn't study the whole area and be prepared for it, so we don't have those resources.
That takes some of the ouch out of the paving. Cause everybody's like, I thought they're gonna rebuild this road. Someday, but not today, and it needs to be surfaced, so.
It does, you know, generally roadways like this, it's 8 to 10 years, this one's in pretty good condition, so when I talk to pavement management that's responsible for it, you know, this is on an 8-year cycle, which is pretty good, you know, for the pavement treatments that were applied. So I'll take a look at your schedule and I'll talk to Ms. Collins and we can you know, try to pick a date. You know, usually it's about 30 days from whenever I want to pick a date. I got to make sure that we plan and we provide proper notification, but we'll do a little bit better job of getting the notifications out and probably confirm with you as far as the addressee list.
Terrible, so whatever it takes you, cause year end, I'm already starting audits, town report, town meeting, budgets, it's crazy. So whatever you need, I'm definitely not gonna drive that bus.
Nope, it'd be pretty limited from your part. You just, you know, we pick a date and we get the room.
Yeah,
You know, that's
keep
it.
the door unlocked, right?
Yeah. As long as somebody's here,
Yeah.
and if you could do it after me, I think it would be really good. And if you're willing to, you know, provide that, you know, preference at the meeting, and then ultimately at the end, you know, based on what you hear, if you could send a letter in, that's the ideal for me, to be honest with you, to have verbal and written preference from the board.
Yep. Okay. All right.
The beginning
Well
of a
worth it.
plan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Worth it. I don't like the push it back date.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I think that's the best decision, is section 2.
Yeah.
It's really rough. There's something happening in, you know, those turns.
No, this is good. Well,
Well, thank you for coming.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, Mark, Nick.
Pleasure.
We appreciate the information and getting things going.
Great.
We've talked about this for a very long time.
We don't talk as nice when you're not here.
Don't expect anything else.
Well, I'm glad you were here to defend yourself, and you did very well. You did.
If you do have questions, you're welcome to reach out
Yeah,
and call at any time.
Very good.
Nick will get the questions.
Yeah, that's fine.
You're on the hit list too.
I'm happy to use him as my bulletproof vest.
Where's your shield? No.
Gotta keep busy somehow, so.
Yeah. No, come on down. Well, thank you, folks.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Mark, thanks for making the trip.
Certainly.
I know you're a busy guy.
Good man.
No, we're gonna meet with the sheriff, I thought.
Hey, be here.
Must be in traffic.
We just won an award today, so that was in the paper.
You did?
No, the sheriff.
Sheriff did Sheriff of the Year.
He didn't shoot himself.
And with that,
When you're wondering where he is.
thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have certificates?
You checking on him?
Mm-hmm.
Cause I just checked with them last week and they said that either one or both of them would be here and
They might be out.
I didn't want to create it.
That's true, I've done that before.
So before you go into non-public session with them, you wanna finish up the agenda?
Sure. Historical Society, nothing new.
Yeah, I did talk to the attorney this week and he says that it's taking longer because this goes through probate court, not superior
Gotcha.
court.
That's gonna be a couple years.
It's gonna be a minute.
Mm-hmm. DOT, we just discussed. Other planning board, did you have a meeting? No meeting.
Next week, right?
Any other business? Anybody got anything to? Move into
Just
the
a
meeting?
question. How did it go with our new ovens? Did that happen yet?
Oh no, I'm having quite a, I'm quite a
Fiasco?
adventure with Lowe's. I spent an hour and 10 minutes waiting at the store. And then I had to leave to come open, that was on the 25th. And then I said, can I order these online? So I went online and ordered the two I wanted. I had the item and model number, placed an order. They said they'd have to get back to me about the installation. So somebody called on Thursday or Friday when I was gone. I couldn't understand the callback number, so I called the 1866 number that I could read. Got that person. They said, oh, no. You want to write a check, so you need to talk to the pro desk at Conway. I said, okay. So I called the pro desk. I got this lovely gentleman, Scott. He says, tell me what you want. He goes, the two stoves are going to be $1,357. It's $79.99 for the natural gas to LP kit, $100 to deliver, $50 to take the two away. Yay. Okay, well, can we set up installation? He goes, I'll call you back before 3 o'clock. I leave at 3. 10 after 3 comes. I'm like, I had called 6 days in a row. And I got a lovely lady today at the pro desk that said, oh no, Scott can't help you. You've got to go back to Nick and appliances. I'm like, nope. So I go on and I find a customer service number for Lowe's. And I write out the whole thing. Like I literally I called at 1 o'clock, 1:50, 2 o'clock, 2:30 on the days I call. And now I have to go back to appliances and wait in line for an hour and 10 minutes again. So a lovely lady from that customer service says the store manager from North Conway will call you either before or will call you within 24 hours. I said, well, that's perfect because I'm off the next 2 days. And she goes, okay, she'll call you before 4 o'clock today or by 9 o'clock Monday morning. So now I'm so excited for Monday morning. And that is my stove story.
That's
And my husband's just like, go to
You just
Home
opened a
Wow,
can.
yeah.
My husband's like,
yes.
go to Home Depot. And I'm like,
Yeah.
nope, now I'm committed. I want
Yeah.
to see how long it's going to take me to buy 2 gas ranges. Because I just need the amount of the check so you guys can sign a check
Yeah.
and I can take it to the store and then.
So sheriff forgot to put it on his schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So can we do your next available date? Which is 28th? 29th?
29th. Yep, and what do you want to do about the Conservation Commission and the budget?
29th.
I don't know what you're going to do about that dog though. If that dog bites somebody else, they need to stay on this.
November 29th.
You want to do them first, or do conservation first and get them out of here, and then go into non-public with the sheriff? Do the conservation commission at 5:45 and do the sheriff at 6:10. 6 o'clock.
There's 6.
Okay, so Concom at 5:45. Sheriff at 6.
So you want to hold on all that other information we have on what's going on to wait for the sheriff? As far
Oh,
as
I
the
think we should go in
inspection and all that?
non-public and discuss it
I think we
anyways.
should too.
What else? You just have the, all you got left is the,
The
correspondence.
correspondence, email from DOT regarding required bridge signage. Was
So-
that fixed?
So Coleman had already fixed the Ferncroft one because they did it when the guardrail work was done.
Right.
He doesn't know when they took these photos, but it was probably early in the summer.
Mhm.
And then the other one, he has ordered the sign for, but he has not put it up yet. So it will be taken care of. And I told him to tell me when it's done so that I can respond just to DOT because I don't want him to think we're not addressing it. But I don't also want to write back to him and say, we did one, but we're not doing the other one. Like, I'd rather say, yeah, it's complete. And then charter.
So he said, okay, thank you, sorry to all. I said, see you then, we'll discuss 2024 budget too. Alright.
Call to remind the sheriff too, the day of.
Review and discuss notice of upcoming changes from charter. Why do we even subscribe? Review email from resident regarding the enforcement of the junkyard ordinance at 510 Paso Conway Road. I know that we've been keeping up to date with the health officer with that, so we will take that under consideration.
I sent you out his report, right?
Yes.
He didn't really find violations. They might be violating junkyard law ordinance, but that is a very hard one to prove, and you can spend years and years and years, and if you get the wrong judge.
Might be a way we go though.
Well, we need a code enforcement
See.
officer too to do that, because you need to stay on it, and I don't think we have the person to do that right now.
You want the job?
Code enforcement? You're gonna know stuff to do that job.
You actually do.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Come on, you're doing
I mean,
something.
You can't just be a
You'd be
basic,
the alternate to the
you
TAP
can't be
committee
a
to the North
basic
Country
code
Council.
enforcement.
All right, no public comment as no public is here. Our next meeting is Wednesday, November 29th at 5:30. And at this time, I will make a motion to go into non-public session under 91-A:32C. Matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the public body itself, unless such person requests an open meeting.
Second.
Obviously, no discussion. I will take a roll call vote. Kelly?
Aye.
Jim? Kathy, aye. And no business will be conducted after. We will be adjourning